Hey folks, it's Ray, DCRainmaker.com here, and to get your full review of the Saris MP1 Infinity Motion Platform thingamajig. It's essentially a rocker plate, and I'm just going to call it the MP1, which stands for Motion Platform 1, as opposed to the whole Nfinity thing. Now, this is something that Saris, then Cyclops, first showed off at Eurobike 2018, so almost like a year and a half ago. But it's finally shipping now. It's out in the wild. You can go buy one if you've got 1,200 bucks or so handy to do that, and it's pretty interesting. I'm going to walk through what it is from start to finish, the unboxing, all the way to kind of my final thoughts on it, where it fits in the marketplace, trying it with different trainers, with even smart bikes, all this kind of crazy stuff. We're going to do all that. But first I had to get it here. It got accidentally delivered to my home, so I had to get it from home to here, which meant a cargo bike was involved. But no worries, I loaded one of my kids up on the back for safety. And I like have two people just in case things went wrong. And then I added a table just because as well. And we went on and pedal on down here. And that was somewhat unique because in that case I actually had the platform on top of the bike as opposed to the other way around. Still, once I got it here, I went ahead and dragged it up the stairs and over to the spot right there, put it on the ground and opened up and found out it was actually upside down. So just a minor quirk is that you might think it's right side up, it's upside down. And the reason why that somewhat matters is because the whole thing actually comes totally assembled. So you just simply take the thing out of the box and then move the box out of the way. And you've got a couple accessories to go ahead and stick on the platform itself. Now those accessories are effectively how you keep your trainer on the platform. Now, no, it does support virtually any trainer out there. It's actually pretty impressive. They've got an entire fit guide on their site. You just go onto that site, you find your trainer, and then you go ahead and just move it to the right spot. Super easy. To start though, I'm just going to use the H3, but don't worry, we'll talk about the rest in just a second. So what you do is go ahead and pop the trainer on the platform, and then you're going to use the two straps in the back and put them in one of the different channels. There are 8 channels on the MP1. There are 4 in kind of the main portion of the platform. There are 2 in the back and then 2 in the front. The 2 in the front are used to put the front wheel block up there, versus the 2 in the back are primarily used for some of the wheel on trainers, and the 4 in the middle are the ones you're probably going to use for most direct drive trainers. So you go ahead and you just take those straps, you put them into this kind of neat little channel groove thing, and then from there, that'll keep the strap in place, tighten it down just like any other strap, and then you're good to go. It stays there, it doesn't move, like it's pretty solid. I give them props for the design. Might seem a little fishy at first, but once you understand it, you're like, it's actually not too bad at all. Meanwhile, on the front, you've got 2 climbing blocks that came with it. Those are basically 2 extra pieces of plastic there. And then you've got the wheel piece that goes on top of those. In my case, I didn't really use the climbing blocks. They're also used if you've got a smaller front wheel, like maybe 650 wheels or something like that you want to get a bit more height out of. But again, in my case, I didn't need them. I just used the front wheel attachment piece there. You strap that in very similar to how you do in the back with sort of these little groove hook things. And then you put that and strap it onto your wheel using the same straps that you'd see in the back as well. The whole thing doesn't take very long to set up. I mean, all in for a single trainer, you're talking like 2, maybe 3 minutes tops first time you do it. Speaking of time to do different trainers, I got pretty good at it since I put on a lot of trainers onto this platform. For example, you can see right there the Wahoo KICKR 2018. That worked no problem at all. I then tossed on the Tacx NEO 2T. Also no problem at all. In fact, all the Neo series as well, just like all the KICKRs, all the Wahoo trainers, they all work just fine. I then threw on the Elite Suito, no problems there either. And again, the same is true for virtually every other Elite trainer or recent Elite trainer anyways. And then from there, I decided to step it up a little bit. I read the fit guide and it says not to do smart bikes and not to do the Kinetic R1 platform. Obviously, I had to do them. So I went ahead and I tossed on the Wahoo KICKR bike, and that actually fit just fine. I just used 2 straps in the back and called that macaroni. Did an entire workout on that, no problems at all. It was a little bit awkward though, given the height, especially like when it went up and down, but like stability-wise, totally doable. The Tacx bike, however, not so doable. That one doesn't really fit on the front. I mean, technically you could probably make it work, but I'd say that's pretty high in the Sketchville scale there. Also on the Sketchville scale would be the Wattbike Atom because it tips off the front, so not really ideal. However, I'd say probably the 2 most sketchy things I tried were the Kinetic R1 trainer, as well as the Wahoo KICKR plus the Climb. And the reason for that is that in the case of the Kinetic R1, that actually has movement in itself. So it was like movement on movement. It was really weird feeling. I would not recommend that at all. I tried it just like in my jeans and t-shirt before I got on the actual bike and kit, and I'm like, nope, not going to do that. That was really, really weird. And then two, the Wahoo KICKR climb technically kind of fits, and you can fashion the front climb down with a couple different straps. The problem there though is that it didn't really feel right. It wobbled weird, and then because of the way the pivot on the climb is, it actually meant that you had to loosen the straps a little bit, so it sort of undid the whole point of the strap. Anyways, Saris doesn't recommend any of those things. Obviously, I did all of those things. So if you are finding this video interesting or useful or something like that, now's a great time to whack that like button, just in the name of science. Plus, it actually helps with the video as well. Now, one notable thing before we get on to the riding side of it is that the max weight of the platform is 350 pounds, so shouldn't be an issue. Most trainers are about 40 to 50 pounds, direct drive trainers, so you've got roughly about 300 or so pounds to play with for yourself and your bike, which is actually how I was able to fit those indoor bikes on there. Just barely squeaked under the limit there, so just keep that weight limit in mind. So now that you get your trainer and bike on the platform, you're gonna go and step onto the platform. The first thing you'll probably notice is not the tilting, though you'll definitely notice that, but the fact that there is a bit of a grip tape on the platform itself to keep you from slipping, as well as to keep your trainers from slipping. Works great, though I'd say it's probably gonna be kind of messy to like clean long term, just because it sticks to everything. Like we try to clean that, like everything just, it's not super ideal, but I guess it's a trade-off you had to make there. On that platform surface, it is wood, it's birch. It's treated, it's supposed to last long term from a sweat resiliency standpoint. I haven't tested it like for years to find that out. So I think we're all going to find that out together in like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But hopefully that works out. Anyways, you stepped on the platform, it's tilted, but it's not like scary tilting. You get onto it, get in your bike, and you start pedaling. So at that point, as you're pedaling along, what you're probably going to first notice is just that very subtle movement. With every single pedal stroke, you're going to get a little bit of side to side and a little bit of front to back. And you're not talking a ton. Like front to back, you're only going to look at maybe a couple of millimeters just during normal, steady, kind of even pedaling. Whereas when you start to really kick it up a bit into a sprint, into some sort of standing climb, that's where you're going to see more of that movement. And movement on the MP1 comes in two core ways. First is front and back. And that's probably actually the most important, most interesting movement, I think, to me, compared to previous rocker plates out there. And so you can see here as I just kind of, slide front and back, it has quite a bit of range there on that front and back. And then as you go ahead, you tilt side to side, you get up to 6 degrees of motion side to side. So that entire combination together is what gives you the full motion of the MP1. The way this works under the covers is that the front and back motion is done on basically 4 sets of rails and rollers. So if you look under the front of the unit there, you're going to see this kind of curved piece of metal, and it rolls back and forth over that. And the same is true in the back as well. There's a centerline curve piece of metal, and then there's 2 little rollers on the side to go ahead and keep things moving front and back when you tilt side to side. The tilting side to side, meanwhile, is handled by this crazy piece of metal that spans the entire back side of the platform. And you can see as I tilt side to side right here, just by standing on it left and right, that it really has quite a bit of range, and it's got these little rubber stoppers on either side, though it's very, very difficult to hit that rubber stopping point while you're on the bike. I'd almost argue impossible unless you're trying to tip over the platform, which, by the way, is really, really, really hard to do. This is something that's incredibly difficult to do. Even in a non-ideal scenario, it's almost impossible. So certainly on your bike, it's very, very difficult as well to try to tip that thing. So in terms of the stability, no problems. Like, it feels nice. And that's, I think, what it gets to, is that this is more about feeling nice than replicating outdoors. And the reason why I say that is if you look at something like an out-of-saddle sprint or an out-of-saddle climb, the motion that happens on this platform as well as other rocker plates is actually opposite of what happens outdoors. So outdoors, when you go ahead and put your right foot down, the bike will actually lean to the left. Versus indoors, when you put your right foot down, the platform will lean to your right along with the bike on top of it. So it's kind of opposites there. And from a overall standpoint, it's not a huge deal. It's something you probably don't realize is opposites until someone else points it out to you. And that's part of the challenge with the platform from a mimicking outdoor standpoint, is it doesn't really do that. You have to learn how to re-ride a bike out of the saddle or sprinting indoors compared to outdoors. And I don't actually have a problem with that at a high level. There are many skills that you learn indoors that are different than outdoors. For example, Zwift racing, if you're in a crit race, there's nuances to doing that crit race on Zwift that are definitely not applicable and different than outdoors. So that's something that's all right. And the opposite is true, of course, as well. There are nuances like crashing that are applicable outdoors that hopefully are not applicable indoors. The challenge I have is that when companies and things like that tell you that you have to learn this new skill indoors to ride your bike, that to me seems to push it, because ultimately that new skill doesn't apply to outdoors. It may indeed actually mess up what I'm doing outdoors. Still, it wasn't really something that I dwelled on too much. I just got on the bike and rode it, and it felt better and it felt more natural, which is something that I think we're all aiming for. In my case, earlier this week, I tried a 2-hour and 10-minute long Zwift session just to see how that would feel, like long-term on a bike, on an indoor trainer. And the biggest takeaway there was kind of just shrug. Like, it just worked. Like, I didn't feel like it was a long trainer ride. It just felt like a more natural trainer ride. Now, for reference, I haven't done any 2+ hour trainer rides in the last couple of years, so it's not like I have some base of 2+ hour trainer rides where I'm like, that was no big deal. I would say that this definitely felt way more comfortable than ones I've done in the past, and that's something that with that movement of the platform, your body is constantly shifting and moving to go ahead and keep your body balanced. So with that constant shift and movement, you're reducing the pressure points primarily on the saddle, but even also on the handlebars as well. So overall, from a product standpoint, yes, there's some of the issues with the out of saddle bits, but overall, the platform, everything was just super, super silky smooth. There was no herky jerky movement in it. It's balanced beautifully. Like, the design, the construction of all that stuff is solid. Like, I have zero issues there at all. Where I've got a little bit of an issue is the price. This thing rings in at $1,199, which is more expensive than the Saris H3 trainer that you put on top of the platform. That to me seems a little bit backwards. Maybe it's just me though. It's also double the price of something like the Wahoo KICKR Climb. And that's, I think, a bit of a comparison a lot of people have made, is that you've effectively got two different types of movement. In the case of the MP1, you're moving side to side and a little bit forward and backwards, versus the case of the KICKR Climb, you're going up and down. The bike at least is going, the front of the bike is going up and down. So potentially two different movement vectors. Maybe ideal if they could combine them all in one, but right now that's not here. And I think for $1,200, the conversation has changed to being about the product, which I think most people would say is really, really good, including people who have tried it at trade shows and exhibitions and places, been on tour all over the place. People love the product. It's the price that everyone gets hung up on. And I think in order to change that, they're going to have to drop that price down to something substantially lower. I think something in that like $600-ish price point is really the sweet spot for a product like this, especially when it has no electronics in it, that, it's really tough to justify compared to other trainer indoor accessories that you can go ahead and get in that same price ballpark. Still, if price isn't an issue for you, this is a solid product. I've got no issues with it from a product standpoint. I just get stuck on the price. Anyways, hope you found this interesting or useful, or whatever the case may be. If so, again, go ahead and whack that like button on the bottom there, or if you're new around here, hit the subscribe button for more sports technology goodness down the road. Have a good one.